Bethany, welcome to Women Investor Wednesdays. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So I have never met a woman securities lawyer. I am blown away. I am so excited. I've spoken to many of them. And, I really like to hire women every chance I get, women lawyers, women engineers. So you're my first.
Well,
you're my first securities lawyer. And we know in this community with investing, we need to have people like you.
Well, thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and I am happy to be representative of women in investing.
So we like to talk about your first deal or when you first started your investing journey. So can we go back? I don't know how long that was, but what was your first investment outside of your own home?
Well, and I mean, there's some stock market stuff right early on, right? The thing that you're supposed to do is put money in stock market. I worked in tech and startups early in my legal career, and so I was kind of in that like venture world where it's like all or nothing, right? You like 10x or you lose all your money and you don't know, and usually it's going to be you lose all your money. So I had a few investments there. I am still working, so you can probably imagine how those went. I didn't start investing in real estate outside of my primary residence until about 7 years ago. Okay. And I was shifting my career, and I was kind of licking my wounds from a failed fund and got back into practicing law. And I met my former partner and started helping him with his practice. And I started meeting these real estate investors and figuring out that I could help them in the ways that I had wanted to help the tech bros that I had been working for previously. And I found that I loved it so much more because I felt like I was making more of an impact. So I started investing myself because I started looking at the deals. This is the great thing. I have such a great vantage point of being the securities lawyer because I get to look at thousands of deals, right? And so I was like, oh, I can see where, these work. I can see the different operators. And talk about diligence. That's some of the best diligence there is. And I started off a little bit small. My first deal, a client, he allowed people to get in. It was usually only a non-accredited, but he allowed people to get in his deal starting at only $5,000.
Amazing.
Not everybody do that. Yeah. He did that because someone helped him get his start doing that. And I thought, okay, all right, this is an alternative asset class. Let me just give you $5,000. And that's going well. And then I start to do a little more and a little more. And as I start to get to know some of these operators, I started doing more and more passive. So I want to diversify. That was in commercial mixed use. And then I did mobile home. I did self-storage. I did, what else? I didn't do multifamily, strangely enough, early on. And I did, what was it? I can't even remember what the other one was. And I'm still in.
And they were all LP positions.
They were all LP positions. So I haven't started actively investing in yet.
Okay, awesome. So I started in LP. I had a boss who became my partner, and he kept asking me to invest, and I kept saying, no, I don't have any money, because I thought my 401k is capped out. I'm good. And, I was 26, 28. Finally, he dragged my butt down to a bank and co-signed a $50,000 note for me to invest in my first LP deal with him. Mm-hmm. And we made 7 figures on that 50,000. So I got hooked into the LP pretty quickly. I did, I think 6 or 7 with him. And then I left that company and I started GPing on my own. But it's so funny now. I've done, I think, about 10 deals on my own. I'm back to LPing. It's great. Give a check and get a check and let someone else do all of the work.
Yeah, it's good work if you can get it, right?
Exactly. And what I'm doing is I have this conference and I'm meeting wonderful women, and my goal is to get more women investing. So I'm helping them with, 25 grand, 50 grand. I'm helping them put a little money. 2 young women bought a limited stay hotel in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm from Wisconsin originally. I live in Fort Lauderdale now, but I'm like, I have to invest in a hotel down from Lambeau Field, 3 blocks from Lambeau Field. So I put my kids in it. And so I'm able to start investing with women around the country to help seed them a little bit. And it's just been so fulfilling to do that. And
I love that.
But so tell us about do you have any stories of like lessons learned with that you could give? So I would say that usually we have about a couple hundred people watch us live, and then we probably have about 500 that watch the replays. And of that, 60% haven't invested yet.
Okay.
So you're the perfect podcast guest to kind of give us some, watch out fors.
Yeah. The biggest thing is people kind of focus on what's the asset, right? What's the diligence and asset, and more important than that is the operator. The most important of any deal is the operator. Do you know, like, and trust that operator? And I'm not saying you have to have a personal relationship with everybody you invest in. Otherwise, people who came from no money like I did, I would have never invested because I didn't know people who were investing, right? So you do have to leverage other people and their expertise to help you vet deals. But you can be in circles like yours and start asking the questions, but ask the questions. I find that when I work with women, they don't want to ask the questions because they feel like they should already know the answers. And no one does. No one does. Why would you, right? And maybe men sometimes act like they know the answers, but they don't until they ask either. And so my biggest piece of advice is ask the questions. If you don't know, you don't know. And if someone puts you down for not knowing, then maybe just don't do business with them.
Yeah, right? Women, so sometimes I get men call and they go, can we come to the conference? And I say no. And they go, well, why? I said, because in my room, a woman can stand up and say, remind me again what a cap rate is.
Yeah.
And when there are men in the room, they don't stand up and ask.
Right.
They don't want to, and you're right. We think, and so what I try to tell people all the time is every time you can see a PPM or an OM, open it up, read it, ask questions. The women in our group where they have deals where they're raising money, syndicating, I tell all my women, I say, go on the call, go on the webinar, even if you don't have money yet, just so you can hear the language and you can learn and you can see the other questions that people like that I ask, like, what's the AC fee? 10%. Okay, I'm not investing in something with a 10% AC fee, right? So, but watching, reading, and then seeing what other questions people are asking that are more experienced.
Yeah, I actually offer a resource to passive investors for this very reason of what should you be looking for? What should you be looking for in your operators? What should you be looking for in the PPM? What even is a PPM? What are the standard fees? Knowing that there is no real standard because it's all negotiable, whatever. Right. Not negotiable because once a deal is done, it's done. But like it's all set by the operator.
Right.
But what kinds of fees? Maybe raise some red flags, that kind of thing. And so I do have a free resource for that for passive investors.
How did they get that?
So we do have a community called the Conscious Capital Collective, but I can give the PDF to you to distribute to people who ask. If you follow me on Instagram, my handle is on the screen here, and you can DM me and we can get you that free resource.
That's amazing. Everyone do that. One of my favorite questions I tell people to ask is, I tell my potential investors, ask the sponsor to speak to someone that's no longer investing with them. So I have a list of people that no longer invest with me. The reason they don't longer invest with me is they're 80 and my deals are 4 years to go, right? Yeah. Or they've started GPing on their own. Mm-hmm. But I say, here's 10 people that no longer invest with me. Go talk to any of them, because everyone's, it's like a job reference. Ask who's no longer investing with the sponsor.
Yeah, that's a great point. And ask, what's a scenario if something doesn't go right? How are you going to handle it? How are you going to let me know? And ask the tough questions, because how people respond to tough questions is going to tell you how they respond to tough questions. And so if they don't respond in a way that you're comfortable with, if they don't communicate in a way that you're comfortable with, it might not be a good fit, even if it's a good deal. And I know that's a little bit softer, and I'm not even sure you're going to hear this in the men's groups. It's a little softer, but you need to feel comfortable with the operator, man or women. You need to feel comfortable with how they communicate. Are they communicating enough for you? Are they communicating in a manner that is acceptable to you or comfortable to you? Do you know how to get the communications? If it's just through a portal, do you feel comfortable with that? Do you want someone to just text you? Do you want someone to just leave you alone and send you checks? What is it that you want? And you can find it. So I think that the softer, like, how does it feel in your gut when you ask a tough question? Do they make you feel stupid? Or do they say, hey, no, I want you to ask these questions? Do it, because you want to get to know faster, right? And so if it's not comfortable in the sale part, that's when they're really trying to woo you. If you're not comfortable there, you're not going to be comfortable if rates go up, occupancy goes down, interest rates are skyrocketing, like all the things, right? So if it starts to get tough, you need to be comfortable that they're going to be talking to you in a way that makes you comfortable.
And our instinct is our superpower, and
Yes.
we need to listen to it.
Yes,
Right?
yes. I mean, man, we just spend our whole lives having people tell us to quiet her down. Do not. Just listen to her.
It's the sum parts of our wisdom and experience. We need to listen to her. But so many women, I mean, so I grew up, obviously I've been in the commercial real estate industry for 39 years. So for the first 35 of them, I was one of the only women in the room.
Yeah.
And we were taught to downplay the soft skills.
Right.
And now I'm trying to scream from the mountaintops. That is a superpower. Listen.
Well, and all the studies show that women are actually better operators, better investors. Why? Because we have that ability and we listen to it.
Exactly. So let's talk about the book.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
so OP
just launched it. It's the
power of OPE. Yeah.
Other people's everything. And it is the key to exponential growth. And it's embracing other people's everything. So we all know about other people's money. That's what we're talking about right now. Right? You're building your portfolio, leveraging other people's money. But on the other side of that, I started working with a lot of people and realizing, I mean, that's my whole practice in law, is helping people leverage other people's money legally, right? And I was realizing that's not enough. It's not enough. And so what else? What other things are we leveraging? Because we tend to get in this trap of, okay, the money, but then I have to do everything else myself, and you can't scale that way without burning out. You just can't. It's just not possible. You could do it for a little while. And frankly, you have to do it for a little while as you're getting started, because you can't just afford to, unless you already come from money, you can't necessarily afford to hire everything out right away. So you do have to kind of grind for a little while. But the whole premise of the book is figuring out, as soon as you possibly can, what is worth the grind for you. And it's not going to be the same for everybody else. Like, so Beth, what is the thing that lights you up and that you're amazing at? Both. It has to be both. You could be good at a lot of things.
Finding tenants for my vacancy. I love it. I go knock on doors once a week. Literally, I love it. It lights me up, and I'm great at it, and it helps me financially.
Right. And there's somebody listening to you that goes, oh God, I would never want to do that. But what I would do is this. That's your other person, right? Because the things that you're amazing at and that light you up you should spend as much time doing that and as little time doing anything else as possible, other than like the things that light you up, right? So the idea in the book is how to identify what that is for you. What's your lane, is what I call it. What's your lane? And then what other lanes need to be filled? And you can go find somebody else for literally every other lane. And then stay in your lane, let them stay in their lane. Because we do fall into that trap as entrepreneurs, of trying to swim across the lanes and you bumping everybody, and and no one can win that way, right?
Yeah.
And you'll still cover ground. You'll still get stuff done, but for the sake of what, right? And so I think the idea here is allowing yourself, though, to identify what you're amazing at and what you love to do, and allowing yourself to only do that. I, for years, thought, who do I think I am that I can only do what I love? You hear the stories everywhere of how you got to grind as an entrepreneur. Like, you don't sleep, you sleep 3 hours, you get up, you do an ice bath, and you journal and you meditate and you whatever, and that's like your badge of honor. That's exhausting, and it's not sustainable. We get to be happy. The main goal for most people isn't money. Of course, we all know that by now. It's freedom. But I think that if you're building an extraordinary life, the goal is to live an extraordinary life while you're building that extraordinary life. And so Absolutely. To do that, you can't do everything yourself forever. You just can't.
So you guys need to go buy Bethany's book. I already put in it, and I would look for the audio. Have you done an audio or not yet?
Audio yet. That's coming next. So that'll be done in the next month or so. I always listen to my books as well. So hold tight. I promise you I'll give you audio, because that's how I consume books too. So that's coming, and it just got released on Tuesday.
Well, congratulations.
And we hit bestsellers. Yay. So we are officially a bestseller on Amazon. And
a fellow female author. I've written 2 books, both on leasing space, because that's what lights me up and what I'm good at. But so fun. So I want to encourage everyone to follow your Instagram channels. So the two, I was obviously doing my homework today.
Yeah.
And two very funny ones. The one in the towel where you almost lost the towel. So you guys, we're not going to tell you what happens. Go watch that. And the eating of the egg, the raw egg.
Oh yeah, man, that took a little bit of mental fortitude. That's not something I'll be doing every day. But I will say this. So I'm in a fitness challenge and I'm in round 3 now. It's 6 months at a time. I'm in round 3 and we were at the celebration of the end of round 2 in Belize at our hotel in Belize.
Wait. Okay. Well, we'll finish the story, but then I want to go back to the fitness challenge and the hotel in Belize.
Okay. So we're there and we're celebrating. And one of the gentlemen there says to get his protein goal, because that's one of the parts of the fitness challenge, to get his protein goal, he consumes raw eggs in the morning because that's got the most bioavailable protein source. So we all decided we're going to do this challenge of consuming a raw egg. And I did just one. He does 4 a day. Another guy he knows does like a dozen a day. Because I'm like, what about salmonella and all the things? Apparently, it's not a thing. It's not a problem. So I did it. And I will tell you this. It doesn't taste like anything. But mentally, that like the texture of it. And
it's like an oyster. It's got to taste like an oyster.
No, not even that. Because I put like all kinds of stuff in my oysters, right? Like you put the hot sauce and whatever. This had nothing. So it didn't really taste like anything. But it's the texture, right? And the yolk. Oof. So that was
so tough. Tell us about the challenge.
So the fitness challenge was put on by a good friend of mine and also fellow real estate investor, Nate Robbins. It's called the Fit and Fab Challenge. And he's now expanded out. He started with sort of a small group and now it's expanding out. So people can join. Follow Nate Robbins if you don't already. And the challenge is you have to do a step component, a protein component, and a workout component. So the steps is a minimum of 10,000 steps per day, averaged out over the week. So if you have a slower day, as long as you get 70,000 in the week, that's the minimum. You're never going to win that way, but that's at least what you have to do. There's a prize for the most and a penalty for the least. And the penalty is just some embarrassing thing, right? And then it's your ideal goal in weight. You have to eat that many grams of protein per day. Right. So if my ideal weight is 145 pounds, I need 145 grams of protein every single day. That was the hardest part for me, by the way. And then at least 5 workouts a week, 3 of them have to be weight training. 30 minutes each, at least. And they can't be the steps. The steps are separate in addition.
Right.
So, and then at the end of it, we all have to agree that we're going to meet up at the end together and get professional fitness photos done that will be then posted on social media. So there is this accountability. We have to report the steps. There's fines if you miss a week. So there's money involved, right? And you pay to get in. So there's a financial penalty. There's an accountability penalty. But then it's like all a bunch of people that I don't want to let down because there are people in my community. And we're all cheering it. But it is a competition, but not really because we're all kind of cheering each other on. Right. And then there's like prizes at the end if you've heard like best butt, best abs, most improved, those kinds of things. So it's just a lot of fun. And it's honestly the only thing that I've been able to keep with this consistently. I've lost 35 pounds. I've gained so much muscle mass and so much strength over the past year. So I think I will just do this as long as my body will allow me.
So, and you said you're in the 3rd, so you've done it 3 times. Is it the same thing or he keeps changing it?
It's the same thing. It's more maintenance now. So like when you get through the 3rd, it's actually 8,000 steps. It's only 4 workouts. So it's just maintenance. So I said the beginning one because everybody who's listening would have to do that. So now for us, it's a minimum of 8,000 steps. It's a minimum of 4 workouts a week.
Got it. And tell me about the hotel in Belize.
So that was my first foray into active investing. So a year and a half ago, actually about 2 years ago, I called up a good friend of mine and client who lives in Belize, David Kafka. And he is a real estate agent with RE/MAX in Belize. In fact, he has like the biggest RE/MAX agency in the whole country in Belize. I called him and I said, listen, I was working with my coach and we figured out my big vision. What's my extraordinary life look like and all the things. And when I retire, would like to be traveling the world to beautiful locations, hosting retreats, teaching people how to scale their wealth and scale their life experiences and their businesses at beautiful properties that I own a part of, right? And I say a part of because I'll syndicate all of them, right? And I called him and said, be on the lookout for a place I can host retreats in Belize. A lot of our clients have properties there. I know it's a good place to invest. And he said, well, actually, I have an off-market deal right now. So I didn't mean to buy a hotel right away.
Amazing.
So we ended up
So,
buying it.
and you syndicated it.
I syndicated it. We did that. We closed September of 23. We're
How
about to take
many partners?
we have 3 managers on the team, 3 partners, David Kafka, Britt Arneson, Investor Girl Britt, probably most of your people follow her, are the 3 partners on that deal. And we have a couple of other like people that work with us on the, on the GP side, but we are the 3 managers, and we have investors as well. And actually we are getting, our business plan was to build 6 new tree houses. It already had 11 rooms existing. It was already profitable. It was already operating, has a barn, restaurant, all the things. We added 6 new tree houses. We added 6 new events per year to keep it booked up more. And we've increased the value from 3.9 million when we bought it to 5 million was the at least at 5 million. Then we could sell it into a fund that I operate. So we disclose to the investors after this, we're going to put it into a fund and go buy more once we've hit that. Well, we've done that. So now in a year and a half. So now we're waiting for our valuation so we can sell it into a fund and go buy more and just do it again. So it's been an amazing experience.
So I don't know where to begin. How many total partners besides the managing partners do you have?
So we have 3 other people on the GP team that advise like investor relations and real investor relations, not a capital raiser. Right. We have another gentleman who does boutique hotels who advises on that. So we gave a couple of kickers out to GP members just for support, like with underwriting and things like that.
Right.
And then we have, I want to say 10 passive investors in it.
Okay, so that's good. And so so for 13 years, I have hosted, not paid for, but hosted a women's travel group. 35 to 40 women annually. We go in September. Is September a good time to go to Belize?
It is, yeah.
And how many people can you fit?
So we have 17 rooms now, and all of them could be, well, some of them are king beds, so it depends on if it's couple. Well, it wouldn't be couples if it's all women. Yeah. So,
but some women stay together.
Yeah, about 30.
We bought out an island last year.
I love it. Yes, I love it.
So we've been out of the country, but we've never been to Belize. So beautiful. I think next year we need to look at tree houses in Belize and just buy the whole place out.
We should. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. It's my happy place. I love it.
And you can come and talk and tell us about the acquisition and about securities law. And
I would love to. That's the dream right there. It's exactly the dream.
So tell me about the fund.
So the fund that we're doing is a luxury resort fund. So it might not necessarily be all boutique hotels, but it will be places suitable for having these high-end retreats for this exact purpose, and luxury short-term rental in between. So think mansions, castles, places where you can have amazing experiences and also learn how to grow your wealth. And it was very important to me to include amazing experiences, because creating wealth, what's the point of it if you're not having amazing experiences, right? And you're having freedom to go enjoy it. And so it's very important to me to have both. So I'm actually partnering with Heather and Tarek Al Musa of the Flip Off and the Flipping Al Musas, and also Ashley Wilson of Bar Down Investments, who is an amazing operator coming out of the multifamily side. So we're partnering together to create this luxury fund to buy these amazing properties all over the world that we can host events at.
That's amazing. One of my recent interviews, like in the last week, is a woman who owns retail and apartments, but she owns in Mexico a 6-bedroom luxury home. Like it rents for $20,000, $30,000 a week during Christmas, but she focuses on yoga retreats.
Love it. Yeah.
And they built like a yoga platform, and there's a chef, and I said, well, that's too small for my group, but maybe my group can do an offshoot.
Yeah. And there'll be some that are probably not for the larger groups, but more the intimate, retreats. And then there's places like Mariposa that would be for a little bit bigger, and there'll be a mix, right? Because of course we also, in addition to providing that resource for the community, we want to provide and maximize returns for our investors as well. And so in the research that we've done, the luxury short-term rental space, they're always booked up. and they're always pretty expensive. So
yeah, no, that's, I said with the 13 years of doing this, I said, I want to pick the best place I can find in the it was in the United States. And then we went to the Dominican Republic 3 years ago. And then last year, someone said, here's an island we can rent out. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
I love it. I know that is like, I love it. Cause what I want is like, I want like sexy investments, right? I mean, I love for cash flow. I love storage. I love mobile home parks, but for me to be active, I want a place I can go enjoy and that the investors can go enjoy as well. Multifamily is a great investment and for the cash part, but the experience part, it was important to me to have a place that was also fun to go visit.
That's amazing. Okay. So, do you find a lot of people go into investing and don't really understand the accredited, non-accredited, all that stuff? Like
me too. And I have pretty strong opinions on this, but I can tell you what the rules are, right? And there's actually a section in my book about this, so some people might not like it, but whatever. But the difference really is accredited investors did you want me to explain?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
That was my invitation to tell you what it was.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Accredited investors are really the primary two ways that people can qualify as accredited. One is income, the other is net worth. So the income base is $200,000 annually for the past 2 years and reasonably expected in the current year, or $300,000 if you also want to count your spouse, right? So you don't have to count your spouse, but if you want to, then it's got to be $300,000. That's income base. Net worth base is $1 million of net worth, excluding your primary residence. And so we do get a lot of people are like, here's my Ameritrade account. It's $3 million. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what you owe. So it's got to be net worth and it can't include your primary residence, whether that should or shouldn't be the case, Yeah. But even if you're non-accredited, you still have to be sophisticated enough to get into any deals that you understand what you're getting into, right? And so when a sponsor or an active investor is accepting investors, they need to be mindful of people's sophistication to understand what they're investing in. And frankly, as an operator, you want them to be sophisticated enough or you're never going to hear the end of the questions, right? So you're going to be educating all the time. And I think you should be able to educate up front for sure, but you don't want to be fielding wait, why haven't I gotten a return yet? Like, well, it's quarterly and it's only been, a week.
Exactly. So we'll wrap up. I always ask one question at the end. What would be your one piece of advice and you kind of talked about this before, but for someone that is ready to put their toe in. So let's say they have $100,000 and they're itching to make an investment besides learning, and feeling comfortable with the sponsor, because you already said that, which is obviously the most important. Any other piece of advice that you could give to women who are, just afraid?
Yes.
Is really the bottom line.
I do have a very big one is know what your investing goals are, right? If you're 25 and just getting in, or if you're 65 and the goals are going to be different. Do you need cash flow? Do you need appreciation? Do you need an exit sometime, in the next 3 to 5 years, or do you need it sooner? Know what your goals are. And don't be afraid to admit what those goals are, and make sure that any deal you're looking at aligns with those goals is one. And then two is trust that. Trust that. If you know what your goals are, and don't let someone else talk you into a deal that does not align with your goals.
Love that. That's brilliant. Okay. I've loved having you. So I hope we can talk in the future about next year's summit.
I would love that.
I would love for you to participate in some way. I'm going to follow up with you because our trip is booked for September, but we usually book the one in 26 by the summer. So I'm going to talk to you about Belize.
I love that.
Everyone go buy Bethany's book. I'm going to wait for the audio because that's how I can consume. And check out the Conscious Capital Collective because she's teaching and I'm not. So I'm encouraging, I'm supporting, and I'm, inspiring, but I'm not teaching. So you can obviously by this interview, you've seen how much wisdom Bethany has to impart. So please go check her out on Instagram. She's got some very funny videos. I'm just going to leave it there. So Bethany, thank you so much.
Thank you for
appreciate
having
being
me. I
here.
so appreciate you.
And we'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.